Hi, everyone, and welcome to From the Ground Up. I'm your host today, Karol Weyman with Outdoor Coffee Shop, and I'm joined today by Garrett Bastardi from Flash Weather AI, who brings a great knowledge of intelligence to agronomy and grounds management with his background. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Garrett.
Yeah, thank you for having thank you for having me. Grateful to be here and for the opportunity.
Let's just talk about first, give us an introduction.
Mhm. Yeah, so like you said, I'm Garrett Bastardi. I'm 18 months with Flash Weather AI. We use deep learning and artificial intelligence to aid in our forecast modeling. We do a lot with lightning safety, but we really kind of across the board can serve really any industry with the weather. My particular background is focusing a little bit more on the agronomic side and the turf grass management side of things. I started a company about 5 years ago, along with a couple other partners called Turf Threat Tracker, which was something that was specifically suited to help golf course superintendents and turf grass managers work with high resolution weather data to help them be more efficient, help them with their agronomic and operational efficiency. And so we built that to about 200 golf courses across the country, and then got hooked up with Flash Weather AI through a couple different means. And then it made perfect sense. Flash was working with more of the pro shops and the general manager side of the golf course industry. We were working with the maintenance side, and we weren't really stepping on each other's toes. So it made sense to kind of bring things together. And so now we're all under one roof, and building great products for golf course superintendents, club professionals, and then other businesses alike.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we really enjoyed working with Flash Weather AI. You have an interesting background in that you are a golfer as well as you have a history in meteorology. So I think it's just such a great combination that you would be part of, kind of really being at this forefront for Flash Weather AI and creating systems that help forecasting. I think that's really wonderful. So I'm going to get started. So with weather
Yeah.
forecasting, it has become increasingly important for turf managers looking to optimize field conditions and maintenance and schedules. And so what makes Flash Weather AI's turf agronomy system unique compared to other weather systems that are on the market?
Yeah, so we're and kind of to your point, like being able to speak both languages, right? Being able to kind of speak the weather language, but then also, having some knowledge of the game and knowledge of what golf course superintendents are trying to accomplish when it comes to managing fine turf. I mean, they're managing multi-million dollar budgets in a lot of cases. And it's a really high stress job and they plan a lot. And the biggest thing that they can't plan for is the weather. It's the biggest variable that kind of is thrown at these superintendents when they're trying to make decisions, both for the health of the turf, but then also they're running business, they're managing workers, they're managing facilities and budgets, and so what we're doing is we're trying to use high resolution weather data that's site specific. So our big tagline is we're site specific and we're turf centric. We're not a zip code forecast. We're not a county forecast. We're not what we call a point and click forecast, which is sometimes what you get from NOAA and the Weather Service, which are good services for general forecasting, but it's not tailored to someone managing fine turf. And so, while we believe we're more accurate because of the grid size of our modeling, we're able to forecast for a specific property. We have a lot of forecasts that are very tailored to a superintendent and somebody managing, a blade of grass that they're growing. Right, we forecast evapotranspiration to help superintendents focus on how much they've lost in water and how much they need to water so they can be more efficient with their watering practices. Our wind products and how we forecast help them with their sprays so they're not maybe wasting a tank and they're being as efficient as possible because sprays, fertilizers, plant growth regulators are very expensive, especially nowadays. So if we can help them save that budget a little bit more, and be more efficient with it, that's something that we have found that there's a lot of value in that. And so forecasting soil temperature, forecasting solar radiation, soil moisture, precipitation, all these different variables, to the degree of accuracy and specificity to the club, and to the property is something that we take a lot of pride in. And really over the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of good results with that, in feedback from our superintendents. And the last thing I'd say is we work hand in hand with developing the products that we have with these superintendents. So, it doesn't matter what I think the solution is. It matters what, the grounds manager or the turf grass manager or the superintendent thinks that the solution is. So the weather's complicated. My goal and my job really as head of development at Flash is to just take what the market wants and how they want something communicated, and then just help our development team be able to communicate this complicated information as clear as possible to these ground managers and superintendents.
That's wonderful. So you mentioned a little bit about many turf professionals rely on weather data every day, but general forecasting and forecasts don't always provide insights that they need. And you're turf centric, and you have forecasting toolkit that's necessary. What's included in that toolkit, and can you explain a little bit about how the toolkit works?
Yeah, so we're kind of three-pronged, if you will. So like I said, we do have a lightning safety component to what Flash does as a whole. That's what Flash AI, the company, was, kind of originally founded upon. And now it's a really all-encompassing weather solution for businesses, really any industry, from agriculture and energy all the way to, like we said, superintendents and golf courses. So what we provide is, we have our weather command center, which has an all-encompassing solution, high-resolution radar, futurecast radar. We have winter weather products, and then we have our deep learning AI lightning safety tools. So we detect lightning, but we can also predict lightning and send notifications ahead of time. So this serves, obviously, really anybody, from a mom taking their kids to the park to a superintendent who needs this, hey, we got 35 minutes left to work on this bunker job before lightning's coming in. This helps them be safe, but also be more efficient. So we have that side of the business. And then, like I said, the agronomy side, we really focus on, providing, forecast data. We do some recording of data, but for the most part, we're forward looking. Right. So you have current conditions with weather stations, stuff like that. You have soil sensors that kind of look at past conditions. We are very forward looking, and trying to give an idea to help with preparation for the days upcoming for a superintendent, or really any sort of business owner or somebody who's impacted by the weather. So, like I said, we're forecasting growing degree days. We're tracking growing degree days to help superintendents with their spray schedules. We forecast diseases like Pythium or dollar spot, longer range soil temperature forecasts. And then our really high resolution forecasts are everything from a proprietary frost algorithm. We're really the only ones that have a really highly accurate site specific frost forecast specific for, you making decisions. We have a dew forecast. We forecast, like I said, solar radiation, evapotranspiration, which is the process of evaporation and transpiration of water from the plant. It really is a good gauge of how much you're losing, how much water the plant is basically losing throughout the day. And so all these tools together really help, just again with efficiency, both operationally, and then, and these are kind of the two words I use a lot: operational efficiency and then agronomic efficiency. Those are kind of the two things that we've seen really, our product has really been able to help with over the last few years.
Yeah, it's so important, especially in the northern states where you get a lot of frost and you get a lot of dew,
Mhm.
to extend your, the golf course season even by a week is
Mhm.
pretty amazing. So to be able to forecast that can help operations in so many ways. So that I can relate
Absolutely.
to that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, traditional forecasting methods and tools have been around for years, but they aren't always without some challenges. So what are some common pitfalls with traditional forecasting tools such as turf sensors that managers should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the sensors are getting, bigger and bigger, and so a lot of what the sensors are doing, are kind of recording the data and giving them sort of a ground truth as to, what is a snapshot of right now, right? And so a common maybe misconception is, and we'll talk to, people that we might be selling to, or courses that we might be selling to, and say, hey, we have this forecasting capability for you that could be helpful. It's like, well, I have sensors on property, or I have a weather station. And I said, that's awesome. Like, that's good. You should have those things, but that's a picture of right now, right? What we do is we're going to help project into the future. Now, we're not gospel, right? We're not going to be as, like the absolute truth, but what we're going to be, is another tool in the toolkit to help you prepare looking forward, down the road. And so maybe to give you an example, to kind of to your previous point about extending the golf season or the growing season, whatever it might be, the entire idea of this agronomic forecasting started. I was playing golf in Pinehurst, North Carolina, right between Christmas and New Year's 2020, maybe. And I knew there was going to be a frost delay every morning that we were down there. And the night before, I'm with friends, and it's like, well, we got to get there at 8. We have an 8 o'clock tee time. There's no communication to us. And so we get there, and it looks like it snowed. Like it's just very heavy frost, and it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. No one's communicating with us. Not the superintendent, not the ground, not the pro shop, the GM. And I start seeing people leave. And I'm just thinking, man, like that's $100 a tee time. You have 4 tee times leave. That's a lot of money for even a private or public golf course. There's got to be a way that we could have helped, you know, be more efficient with the forecast to help these people communicate with their customers. And so we came up with this frost forecast, and then we were able to kind of expand that to a generalized forecast, which again just kind of helps paint a picture in the future so you can at least communicate a little bit better. So some of the pitfalls, like you mentioned, are just sort of forecasts, legacy forecasts that everybody, weather forecast weather forecasters get a bad rep sometimes because it's like, well, you just flip coins or you just guess, right? That's because a lot of the legacy free forecasts are not to the quality of what maybe has been advanced in the last 15, 20 years. And so there's a lot more private use of the data and companies doing some unique things with data to help kind of give a different picture than what has otherwise been out there, for all the time. There's more than just looking at Channel 5. There's more than just looking at your Apple weather app. Um, those are all well and good for people making basic decisions, but businesses are making high impact decisions that affect their business day in day out, and then their customers. And so that's where there might be a little bit of a shift from some of the legacy forecast products to what we do.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So, um, we were talking about effective decision making, and it really does start with the right information at the right time. What types of data does the turf agronomy package monitor, and how does that information help users make better decisions?
Yeah, so we look at short range forecasting, medium range forecasting, and longer range. And so some of our disease pressuring forecast, growing degree days, which is a standard of which and a measurement of which a lot of superintendents will base maybe their spray schedules off of. Every 200 growing degree days. I won't go into the details of exactly that equation, but maybe every 200, 250, a superintendent might put down a plant growth regulator to kind of slow the growth of the plant so it's a little bit more manageable. Or they'll put down a fungicide or something like that just to help the health of the turf. So we're able to forecast growing degree days based off of our modeling out 15 days. So now a superintendent can say, hey, in about 8 or 9 days, we're gonna plan to put this whatever product down, and that could just help them be more efficient. So these sprays could be tens of thousands of dollars. Well, if you're scheduled to do 6 over the course of the year and they're $25,000 each, but you can really tighten it down to 5 because you knew what the weather was going to be in going into the future, that could save you a lot of money, and it could save maybe the plant being overstimulated with another spray maybe it didn't need. So that's a longer range sort of look of what we do. In the shorter to medium range, we do some consulting as well. The PGA Tour is at the Memorial Tournament in Columbus, Ohio this week. I've been doing consulting for them just to help them with preparing the golf course to have some of the best players in the world play it, and have it look great on TV right over the next week or so. And then in the short term, we have our high resolution forecasts. Like I said, the frost forecast, precipitation is probably 80 to 90% of the concerns we hear all the time. Is it going to rain? Is it not? Is this pop up storm going to hit us? Our modeling is able to forecast some of that stuff in the shorter range, and then temperature, dew point, humidity, all those short range factors are really important day in day out. Like I said, both for the superintendent making a decision on staffing, if we're bringing hourly workers in this morning, if we can wait till 8 or 9 o'clock because we know we'll have a frost delay, and then obviously the turf health as well, and knowing, hey, is it going to be really humid day over day? Do I need to water as much, or do I need to can I dial it back for the health of the plant? So we kind of break things up into that short, medium, and longer range sort of view of things for the customer.
Yeah, that's great that you're able to do that, and being able to consult with them and have those options available, I think is great too.
Mhm.
So when I think of technology, and new technology can sometimes feel overwhelming to adopt. So how well
Yeah.
does the turf agronomy system function for first-time users, and what does the onboarding experience look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's been the I mean, anytime you're trying to communicate complicated information to, and the weather is very habitual, right? You look at the weather, probably every day, but for what you're looking at, I look at it a different way. My wife looks at it a different way, and we all use different apps. So people are into their habits of how they use their apps. So we've run into a lot of trying to change people's habits of how they look at the weather. So we've had to be really effective at really translating and giving a good user interface to what we're showing. And so we've worked very hard over the last several years of making our agronomy data as inviting as possible, using color coding, how to read guides, kind of just sectioning things out in a way that is a little bit more tolerable, because it does look different. You're looking at charts a little bit more. You're not just looking at the 7-day forecast with a smiley sun or a frowny cloud. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a little bit more in depth. And so the teams that we work with that help our development, both from the mobile side, because that's very important. A lot of these folks are outside. A lot of times they're not sitting in their office. They're out in the field, working on the golf course, or in a broader agricultural space out in the fields. And so we've worked very, very hard to have a really acceptable and kind of premier mobile user interface, and then desktop user interface that kind of makes this information clear. And then when we're onboarding, potential clients, we're doing demos, we're answering questions, we're kind of walking them through hand in hand. We have a lot of ground truthing in this now, being 4 or 5 years in advance. And what's nice, Carol, is that we've had everyone from the highest, most premier private clubs in the country to municipal and public golf courses use our product and really like it. So we know we have something that translates to whether you have a big budget or a small budget, right? And having an affordable option for that. And so we're on to something, but we can always improve the user interface. That's my big, passion, is taking complicated weather information that can be impactful both for safety and efficiency, and bringing it to people who maybe don't otherwise know that's out there, or maybe looking at the weather in a different way than maybe they've looked at it for all their life.
Right. Well, I love the mobile option because if someone's not necessarily right there too, they can still be able to be in charge of what's
Hmm.
happening out on the golf course or in the field. So I think
Hmm.
that's really wonderful. I will say that there's an obligation to the people that buy software or buy a toolkit to be able to be invested in it as well. And so that can shorten an onboarding what I understand, because I worked for technology in the
Hmm.
past. It can. You have to set these expectations on both sides. So, being able to dig in and having the right people to onboard, I think, is also really important, which I'm sure you guys cover when you're going through your onboarding process. How long does that usually take, or is it different for each type of user?
Yeah, I'd say it's different for each type. I mean, like a calling card, what previous to Flash was with T3 was like we'd beg our users like you have to use it. Like you can't just use it once or twice a week and then go back to your other weather app. You're not going to get into the flow of it. Like we're trying to change your habit and your routine, and so it's different for everybody. Like I said, everybody looks at the weather differently. We have some people who are, it's like a cult like following. They love what we do, right? And then there's others who, use it as a supplement to what they've used previously, and then we're trying to always work them. Hey, are you using it? Are you using what we do more? What's really nice is we do have I mean, we have a premier mobile app, the Flash Weather AI app. I'm really excited about where that's going to grow over the next several years. But then we've worked really hard to make the agronomy section on the mobile version, um, just at or beyond any other user interface. And so that's what I've noticed is like the better the user interface, um, the more we can come to the user from a mobile perspective, the more the user is going to take that in and be willing to change their whatever their previous routine or weather habits were. So I'd say it varies from person to person. That's the difficulty we face, is weather is not one size fits all, right? you might be up north, I'm in the south, my weather's going to be different than your weather. Maybe I need to check it every day and you don't. Those are things that we just need to, we're always kind of keeping in mind when we're both selling, but then also trying to onboard our clients as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And yeah, there's so many people out there with different skill sets. So it's
Mhm.
great to hear that you have some flexibility in how you handle all the different onboarding. So for listeners that are interested in learning more or seeing the platform in action, where can they go to find additional information about Flash Weather AI and its turf agronomy solutions?
Yeah, so you can go to flashweather.ai. That is our website. You can also download the Flash Weather AI app. It is obviously we have a business to business, a B2B solution that we work with these golf courses, but our mobile app is a B2C, a business to customer solution as well. I mean, we have it's publicly available. There's in-app purchases. It's like any other mobile app. So the Flash Weather AI mobile app would be somewhere I would say, go in and dig in there. And then if you're on a desktop, go to flashweather.ai. And we have a brand new landing page, brand new website for people to check out and look at. It's pretty sleek. And so we'll have more than enough information on that website. And then we have, a contact us tab, and we have a whole team that's, just ready to kind of keep spreading the word about, high resolution weather data and how it can help your, operations and your business.
That's great to hear. And you can also find Flash Weather AI on Outdoor Coffee Shop in their directory, and they have a great directory, and it leads you back to their website or to different places that are of interest to you for sure. So you can check them out. Is there anything else that you would want to add so that your customers, potential customers, can hear you?
Yeah, I'll just say you can follow us on social media as well. We're very active. Dave Downey, who's our lead meteorologist from that perspective, is really good at that stuff, and we're always producing cool content, very informational content as well. And so, like I said, while we're trying to serve businesses and consumers alike, we're also trying to educate as much as possible, right? And so, I'd be remiss if I didn't like plug a little bit more our lightning data and just the fact that. It is truly a great safety tool for people. And, I know, as someone who's been in the weather a long time, you know, tornadoes don't really scare me. Hurricanes don't scare me. Lightning scares me. Right. So that's something that we have the premier lightning safety tool in the world. And so that's something that it could be helpful for moms taking their kids to the park or the pool, to, business owners who are, outdoor workers alike. So just checking us out, on our social media, and just seeing our content, and then, downloading our app, it's a good way to kind of get more in tune with the weather and look at it in a different way than maybe you've looked at it before.
Yeah, that's great. And there are trade shows too. So I know that there were the
Mhm.
GCSAA trade show in January, and I don't know what other trade shows you're at. We didn't talk about that previously,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if you have any.
Yeah. Oh, PGA Super Show in Orlando every year. We're there. And then yeah, some various ones around the country. I know we were at maybe Chicago Build, some construction ones as well. So we're here and there. We kind of stick to some of the bigger ones at this point, but we definitely are sometimes in a city near you. So if you are at a trade show, sometimes you'll stumble upon Flash Weather AI, and you can come talk to us.
Yeah, because it's not just in the outdoor market, it's all outdoors. But as far as
Mhm.
like they can help with roofing, they can help with
Absolutely.
metal. We have a lot of different coffee shops that really apply to what Flash Weather AI does,
Mhm.
and so they're at some of those as well. So, Garrett, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. It was just very you explained everything really well, even for the layman over here
Yeah.
that doesn't know a lot about monitoring that type of thing. So, thanks again for being here.
Yep.
Uh, and
Thank you for
thanks
having me.
everybody. Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks to everyone who's joined us today. And, until next time, it's from the ground up. Thank you. Take care. Bye.